In this video, I'll be breaking down my exact sales framework that I've used to personally collect over $3.5 million in cash in the education space and also collect $75,000 in just 48 hours. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name's Colin Nichols. Just 2.5 years ago, I was working a construction job that I absolutely hated, making around like $400 per week, and also going to college and showing up to classes that I really didn't care about and just trying to figure out how to make money online. And then I broke into the high ticket sales space. So today I'm gonna break down my exact sales framework and we can go ahead and jump into it. When it comes to sales, you really have to think of it as a normal conversation. Like this is a perfect example of the high ticket sales space and just like a little bell curve meme here. The real root of it, of being a good sales rep and being good at sales in general, is just having a normal conversation. You know, because most people kind of get it mixed up where they think they have to have a 12-page sales script, a fancy word track for everything the prospect's going to say to close the deal, which in all reality, like that's not true, because I've seen very good sales reps, you know, come on offers and have the results to back it up, have everything to back it up. They look good on paper, but they just don't come into it with the right mindset, which I think is the biggest factor of being a good sales rep. Because I know a bunch of top guys that just have a good mindset and just think about having a normal conversation, because that's all sales is really. And just to back it up, like I said, I'm going to break down the exact sales framework I use to close $75,000 in 48 hours. A bit of social proof here, or a bit of proof that way you can actually see that I'm not bullshitting you and it's exactly what I'm saying. Collecting a 26K wire. And this is all cold traffic, by the way. So every single deal that you're seeing here is an offer that I worked on where it was all cold traffic and it was cold leads that, you know, watched the VSL and opted in, right? So $25,000 wire, $7,800 payments, $4,000, $5,800, $7,800, $6,000, $4,800. The last day of the month, I would manage to close 2 deals. That was one of them. Here's the last one, $5,800. Legit a 2-hour call. I was on that call for 2 hours, $7,800. And goes to show, like, you know, being a good sales rep, again, like I don't follow a fancy script or have like fancy word tracks for prospects. It just comes down to knowing how to navigate the conversation, which is exactly what I'm going to show here on how, you know, I'll go about my sales calls and how I'll make it smooth, efficient. I'm not sidestepping from conversation to conversation. It's very, very smooth in my process. So first, we got to think about what leads up to a sales call, right? So obviously the person, you know, has to become aware of the offer and of the, you know, the personal brand of the person that you're selling for. So what does that go through? You know, Instagram, YouTube, Meta ads, the most common routes to actually, you know, come across somebody. It could be in the format of an Instagram reel. It could be a YouTube video breaking down what you do. It could be a Facebook ad, whatever it is, right? This is where your audience gets to know and understand who you are and what you offer, which is very important. You know, if nobody knows who you are, then you're not going to get booked calls, right? You need good content to attract an audience. I think it really is a non-negotiable nowadays. Like if someone's just anonymous on the internet, then no one's really going to buy into your program if you're not really teaching something. Same thing goes with paid ads. The whole entire goal in this process and the awareness process is to get the person to know you, right? To know, like, and trust you, because that's what they need to actually buy from you. Now, again, awareness, they go into a free resource in VSL. So that lead opts in, you know, they put in their first name, their email, their phone number, and that's what you're collecting as data, right? The lead fills out a type form, which is basically just a questionnaire. A few questions that are definitely necessary on a type form is, you know, are you actually interested in building XYZ, depending on what offer it is? What country are you from? Are you prepared and willing to dedicate, you know, X amount of time and, you know, Y financial resources to building Z, whatever the offer actually is, whatever the business model is. What is your current monthly income? Describe your financial situation as best as possible. What makes you a good fit for this opportunity? Go in detail as much as possible so we can see if your application should be chosen. Now, obviously, this is more of like a make money online format. It would be different for fitness. You know, for example, it would be completely different as far as the questions you're asking, but that's kind of the, you know, format that you do want to follow. Now, after the person fills out the type form, either they are, you know, disqualified if they don't have the time or the financial resources. You know, you send them to a free YouTube video or a free course you have, and then that person can now book a call. So there's 2 routes this can go, right? So you have people that are not going to book a call 100%. The workflow for that's pretty simple. Like you have a appointment setter, that's actually going after these non-booked leads. So they'll dial the lead, they'll do like an interest, temp check, like, hey, I saw you filled out an application to work with XYZ, whatever it is. What actually has you interested in looking into XYZ? Now, again, the appointment setter is going to qualify lead based on time, finances, and commitment level. That could go two ways. The person could be totally disqualified, which means they don't have the time, they don't actually have the money to invest. So very simple, the appointment setter is going to send them free resources and also add them to their personal leads list sheet to follow up with them in the future. It could be like a free course. It could be a free, assets, like a lead magnet you can send them, whatever it is in the context of the business model and what you're selling, of course. Or you can also downsell them into a low ticket offer, whether it's a course, whether it's just group coaching, whatever it is, typically between $100 to $500 to $1,000, something that's, lower ticket. Now, if they are qualified, the setter is going to book them back onto the calendar. Okay. So book them on the calendar for the time they want to, have. And then they're going to add them to a group chat with the closer. Okay. So they're going to do more of an intro message. Closer is going to introduce himself and send over some pre-call resources and assets. Okay, pretty simple. Now, what happens if they do book? Now, if they do book, it's the same workflow. The setter is going to immediately dial the lead. The setter confirms details on their application. The key thing here is that you don't really want to requalify them, like requalify them in terms of the finances and also really just time in general, because they already filled out the type form. We know that that person is somewhat qualified. You don't want to do a very strict qualification. Obviously, it depends on what size your offer is. Like if your offer is doing 7 figures plus, this does kind of apply. But if it's not, then you can do more of a stricter qualification funnel. Now, again, a setter adds the prospect to the group chat with a closer. Closer, again, introduces himself and sends over pre-call materials. Now, I do want to go through what does pre-call messaging actually look like? Because when you're speaking to leads, the more that you can humanize the conversation, the better off you have that lead showing up being as warm as possible. If you do no pre-call, if you don't reach out to the leads, if they just watch your VSL, well, chances are they probably don't even show up. But if they do show up, it's a very, very cold lead that you're actually talking to, which is what we don't want to happen here. Like that's what we don't want, right? So pre-call messaging. So here's a few examples of pre-call messaging that's worked very well for myself, working for different offers and reaching out to leads. And the big thing here that I want to mention is that any assets your offer owner has that is relevant to that lead, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's some kind of asset, make sure you send that before the call, because we want this lead to digest as much information as possible before heading into that call. Because again, you want a warm lead that's on your call. Your best assets are going to be YouTube videos that your offer owner is creating. If you are noticing more common questions around, whether you're on a sales call or whether it's, pre-call during text, definitely put together an FAQ as a pre-call material as well, because you're going to go ahead and pre-handle those objections that the prospect has before getting onto that call, of course, if they watch it, right? So what it would look like is your first message. Hey, name, it's Closer from XYZ, whatever the company is. Great to connect with you. Looking forward to chatting at time, whatever the time of the meeting is. I'll be the one taking the call with you and walking you through everything A to Z. Any questions you have, I'll be able to answer. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have anything. Very simple, right? You're not being pushy. It's just saying, hey, kind of introducing yourself. Now, message 2 is really saying, hey, before our call, make sure you check out these resources below. They're going to be super helpful for you to take a look at beforehand. That way you're fully prepared before our meeting. Now, again, that could be some kind of resource that's relevant to the lead. It could be an FAQ that you put together to answer common questions. It could be a free course, whatever it is, something the lead can watch before that call. Now, again, let me know once you've had a chance to check them out. Now, if your offer is really dialed, then you're probably already doing this. If not, I would highly suggest making this change. After that person books the call, that person, the prospect, should be taken to a post booking page that has a bunch of FAQs, again, to answer questions that your lead may have. And it would be like your offer owner or the person that owns the company, the person that has that personal brand in that video answering common questions. And you can relay all this information to the offer owner on from sales calls that you take. Now, reminders are very simple. You don't have to be too crazy with this. Like, hey, more of a morning reminder. I had a few minutes to spare while I was waiting for my morning coffee, so I was planning my day. Excited to chat later today and see if we can help you get started on your XYZ business model, whatever it is. It's obviously going to differ. Hope you checked out those materials and I can answer any questions you have later. 100%. See you soon. Hey, Name, just going through my calendar. Wanted to let you know we're still good for today. As a quick reminder, click this link here 2 minutes before our meeting starts. See you soon. Again, just a very simple reminder, just a little bit of a nudge so they, remember that, hey, the meeting's happening. And again, if your offer is dialed, they are also getting emails too before the call as reminders. Now, what's the actual mindset before going into a call? Because again, like I said, it comes down to just having a normal conversation, but it does sound easier on paper than it actually is. Like, what does that actually mean? It's all about mindset. Like I said, the top closers that I know don't use fancy sales scripts or fancy word tracks for everything, before heading into a call. It's really just having the right mindset before going into a call. And I'll break down exactly what that looks like. My, exact process that I use before going into calls. Number one is that you do not need the sale, right? And it's very important to live by that, because if you go into a call thinking that you need the sale, then you're probably not going to get the sale, because you come off as needy or being the beggar, and it will kill the sale every time. Like your prospect can feel this in your body language, your tonality, what questions you're asking. Like, are you actually listening to the prospect? It's very easy to decipher, okay, is this person just here to take my money, or do they actually want to help me out with my problem and offer a solution? This second pillar I actually got from a guy that I used to work with, a closer, very good closer, kind of taught me this trick here. It's like going into a call, like you want to think about it as it's just another day going to get the mail. And what does that actually mean? It means that it's a part of your process and it's really a part of your day to day. Like you go and get the mail every single day. It's just what you do. It's just, how you operate in life. And that's how you should be operating on your sales calls too. Like, oh, it's just another sales call. It's another person that I'm talking to. And really, to sum all this up, trust the process is very simple too. To sum it all up, it comes down to making it a normal thing you do. It's a part of your day to day. It's just another conversation. There's really nothing to sweat over. Like, if this person doesn't close, like you're not gonna lose your job. You're not gonna be able to pay rent tomorrow. Like, you have another call coming up, completely fine, right? Now, what does the trust the process actually means? It means, if you're ever in a rut, it's it's very easy to say, oh, this process doesn't work. Oh, this framework doesn't work. Let me go try something else, or let me go try this process that I saw from an Instagram reel for a coach online. But that will kill your confidence, and it will kill your sales and ability to make money. Because sometimes you'll be there. Like, sometimes you'll be in a rut. Like, I've been there many times where like you're rethinking your entire sales process. But what I can tell you is that stick with it, because there's always going to be ups and downs in sales, like 100%. Like, you have $0 days, you have days where you do 75K in 48 hours. But as long as you stick with the process and you know that it has results, just stick with it, right? Now, going into the actual, meat and bones of what this actually looks like is the sales call framework. What sales call framework did I go by to collect $75,000 in 48 hours and collect over $3.5 million in the span of, a year and 7 months in the high ticket sales space? Well, it's really not anything crazy. It's very, very simple. And I think that's good. Like, it's very simple to follow. Number one, we want to have an intro. Okay, so what are we actually doing in the intro? We're laying the agenda for the call. Again, do not come off as awkward or nervous, which I know it's kind of hard when you're first just getting into sales. Like, it's your first sales call, you are nervous, but try and hide that as much as possible. Just think of it as another sales call. Just think of it as you're going to get the mail, because trust me, like, prospects can feel your state on the other side of the screen. And you really want to, the intro and really the whole entire call, like, you want to be the leader and you want to have confidence and lead that call, because the intro is going to dictate what direction the call is going to go. If you have a prospect that's kind of either running over you or interrupting you for the whole entire call, then it probably started in the intro, because that's where things really come to fruition, is like, what is the intro of the call, right? Discovery. What does this really mean? It means understanding the prospect's current situation, right? We're trying to gather as much information as possible. That way we can, use that towards the end of the call if they do give us objections. So really, we want to figure out where they're at versus where they want to be. Again, this is just us gathering info, asking them background questions, Again, normal conversation. It's not an interview. Here's a few examples that I always use on sales calls, really just to dissect that person and try to figure out, where they're at, what is their current situation. Number one, what are you currently doing for work at the moment? Okay, we can kind of dissect, okay, what's the job? Do they like it? Do they not like it? We can kind of see, okay, is that a high paying job? Like, are they a doctor or are they a janitor? Like, what is the actual job they're working? Second question, is this your first time looking at getting into online business, or if you tried things in the past, right? So we want to really see, okay, have they been through other courses? Have they been through other coaching programs and failed? Have they just came across online business or, getting into fitness, like whatever the offer is, so we can actually get some background info. The third thing, how long have you felt this way, or how long have you been experiencing XYZ, right? So they're going to give us some pain, okay? So we can take that pain and really go deeper into it so they can actually realize, oh shoot, like I need to get out of my situation. Last question's always good to ask if you're selling like a more of a make money online offer. How much are you making per month right now, right? So now we can see, okay, let's say a person's making $5,000 a month. Well, now we know that person needs to make, $5,000 or above to replace their income. Okay, so how can we make this offer, make this pitch, make this business model sound attractive to where they know that they are going to make $5,000 or above with this, solution that we have on the sales call? Impact, very, very, very important, like impact of their current situation. We want to dig into how the problem affects their life, right? How is not having, time with your kids caused issues for you? Well, yeah, man, it's really caused a lot. Now that I think about it, like I missed little Jimmy's baseball game yesterday. It's been very hard. Boom. Now we got some pain. Now we can actually use that against them, not in a bad way, but use that against them to, close the deal if they do give us objections. What would having, X actually allow you to do? Like, what would having time back with Jimmy actually allow you to do? What would having an extra $5,000, $10,000 a month actually allow you to do? What would having a six pack actually like? Like, there's so many different ways you can go about it. Another good one, do you feel like you're missing out on why? And the key thing is, like, when you're asking these impact questions, like, you don't want to have a tonality of like being super direct. Like, do you feel like you're missing out on why? Like, you want to have like a subtle, a smooth tonality, like actually, seem like you care about that person. Like, do you feel like you're actually missing out on, having time with Jimmy? Something like that, right? Very simple, very smooth. Last thing is really use positive implications to have them paint the dream. Use negative implications to kind of pull them back to reality, kind of take them to the island, bring them back to the current state of, oh, my situation's terrible, right? Next is going to be trigger moment. So obviously something happened for them to get on the sales call and book a call with you and, really figure out a solution for their problem. So we want to figure out like what actually happened. What was like the aha moment or like the light bulb in their head that they said, okay, I have to make a change, right? Get to the why now. So it could be something like this, like, was this a slow build up over time or did something happen, recently that made you take this more seriously? Because I know you mentioned like you've been looking into online business for 2 years, but these 2 years, like you haven't really taken action on anything. Like, what actually happened recently? So again, it's all in your tonality. Like, you want to figure out the exact event. You want to figure out the pain or the breaking point that pushed them to book this call. Because you have to remember, like, everyone that's on your calendar, even if they don't like explicitly say it or like they don't seem like they have a lot of pain, something's there. We just got to figure out that exact pocket and go after that, right? Goals is very important as well. Like, I don't ask this on every call, but it's very important for people that are, very money driven and sometimes pain driven as well. What does success look like for you 6 months from now? Well, I mean, I want to have, more time with Jimmy. I want to have a six pack. I want to be able to make 10 grand per month so I can go, back and visit my family, whatever it is, right? Again, what is the selfish reason you personally want this? Because everyone has a selfish reason for them wanting to achieve a goal. Like, you might get people that say, yeah, I want to retire my family. Yeah, I want to take care of my mom, which is a fantastic goal. But 99% of the time, like, that's not the main thing that's driving them. It's more of a selfish reason that they want to do all this work and get this outcome, right? So lastly, tie everything back to the personal outcome, not just service level goals. Like, again, in the context of a make money online offer, like, you'll get some people that say like, yeah, I want to become a millionaire and I want to, be in a yacht in a year. Well, it's not really realistic for that to happen. It's honestly very unrealistic. So we want to kind of take a step back and be like, yeah, man, I totally hear you, but what's actually realistic for you? Like, not just like something that's, out of reach. Cause I'll be honest, like I'll tell you, like, that's very unlikely to happen in a year. Like, what do you want that's realistic 6 months from now? Label, quick recap. Okay, so we want to kind of mirror their story. Like, you have all this pain, but we want them to look in the mirror and see all this pain and see all this like discomfort of their life and say, yeah, like that's me. That's exactly where I'm at. So it could be something like, yeah, so it sounds like, where you're at, like you're currently making, $3,000 a month with your current job. And you want to reach that 10K a month level. That way you can have more time back with, wife and kids. And you feel like this unique business model would allow you to get to where you want to go. Does that sound correct? Cool. Now, if they say, oh no, it was actually this, and then we know, okay, that's actually what we should go after, because sometimes they will say that, or sometimes they'll say, yeah, exactly right, for sure. This flushes out, more like the hidden objections, and it gets them to correct you if you're off, right? They'll tell you exactly what's held them back, so you can use that later handling or whatever it is towards the end of the call. The next thing is cost of inaction and widening the gap, right? So you think about sales, sales, their pain is the gap, right? Like if somebody's here on the sales call and they don't really have much pain at the moment, you can actually stretch that out the further you go along with the sales call, right? And that's the sign of being a good sales rep is being able to take that pain and stretch it out to where they actually realize, oh, I have to make a change. That's really what creates urgency, right? Not like the, hey, there's 5 spots left. Hey, we have XYZ spots left for this offer. The way you create real urgency is widening the gap, which is pulling apart their pain so they realize, okay, I have to make a change. A few examples of what this would look like is, what does it look like if nothing changes and you just keep doing what you're doing right now? If things stay exactly the same, right? Like you making 3K a month, you working 60 hours a week, like not being able to see little Jimmy, like what does life look like if you continue down the same path in 6 to 12 months, right? And again, a common thing you'll see here, a theme you'll see here is that tonality is very important when you're asking these questions. Now, obviously, it's not overdoing it. It's still being yourself, but you don't want to be like super direct in your tonality, because that's something I had to get used to, is like not being like just hey blah 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 blah, right? Like kind of slowing it down, having good tonality when you're going through your sales calls. Lastly, you want to anchor them back to their current pain so they're motivated to act, right? And the next part, kind of wrapping up the discovery, going into the unique business model and personalized pitch. Obviously, this is going to differ from everyone watching this, I would assume. An ideal time for your discovery, it depends on the prospect. If the person is already coming prepared, like sometimes you won't even have to ask all these questions. But let's say that person's not really giving you anything and you have to go through the entire discovery process. Typically around 10 to 15 minutes max is where you want your discovery to be. Typically, you don't want your calls to run over 45 minutes, to be fair. But you'll explain the unique business model and personalized pitch. So something like this. Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense where you're at. Like, I can definitely see this being a good fit for you based on what you've described. And what I want to go ahead and do, John, is I want to go ahead and break down the business model, because I feel like the biggest thing that I can do for you is go ahead and connect the dots on how this works and kind of give you that aha moment of like, okay, this is how the business works, right? And then I'll break down the exact process that we go through to get you to A to Z, and then we can go ahead and go through the next steps and just see if it makes sense for you or not. Is that cool? Simple, just like that. Now, after you go through the pitch, again, you'll wrap that part up and then, show a few testimonials, show you like your wins channel, whatever it is that you actually have for your program. And then you'll go into dropping price and going for the close. So showing different options that you have. What you don't want to do is, mention payment plans off the bat or mention any type of financing off the bat. The best payments are going to be pay in full credit card payments, as we all know. So that's really what you want to go for. But something, I know there's different ways to go about it. Like you can drop the price, you can just be quiet, you can drop the price and say, hey, where would you like to go from here? I think it does depend on the person. If someone's like very, very nervous and you just shut up and you don't talk for like a couple minutes, like it's only going to make them more uncomfortable and nervous. So I kind of like to switch it up depending on the person. Like, hey, yeah, it's $10,000. These are different options that we do have on getting started. So where would you like to go from here? So pretty simple. Like, you don't want to overdo it, and you don't want to over explain yourself, because that's just going to lead to, okay, this person's just trying to oversell me for this program, and it comes off that way. So after we go from the close, let's say we collect payment on the call, we'll actually get them to sign the agreements on the call, and then we'll simply just onboard them in the program. Now, this is everything A to Z. It's really asking the right questions, right? Because like sales, again, is just a normal conversation. Like, the more you think about it, it's not having a 12-page sales script or fancy word tracks for everything the prospect says to close a deal. Like, all I did there was I asked normal questions, because they booked the call, they have a problem. It's my job to figure out what those problems are and provide a solution. But the only way I can do that is really understanding what is their problems. How do I get this person to where they want to be? How do I position my offer as a solution for their problems, right? Now, this is again, like, it's the golden ticket. I kind of put it here again, but I can't stress this enough. Like, it is all mindset. It's just having a normal conversation. So this is the exact sales framework that I've personally used to close over $3.5 million and collect over $75,000 in 48 hours. And that's really it, everything A to Z. Now, if you enjoyed the video, if it was a good watch for you, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, do what you got to do. If you are ready to implement these exact systems into your coaching business, if you're a business owner that is kind of stressing out on the sales side, is kind of managing everything A to Z, you can DM me on Instagram. My @ is right here, Colin Nichols _. Or if you're just getting into sales and you don't have a proven process, you're not really knowledgeable in the exact sales process, or if you're already in sales and you're kind of spinning your wheels, not really knowing where to go, don't have the exact skill set, you can join my free community where I train sales reps and appointment setters completely free. There's nothing to actually sell you just yet. The link is in the description. You can go ahead and join there. It's a free Discord. And you guys have a great one. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.